Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey, local business hackers. I'm your host, Director of Global Business Dev at Referrizer, joined today by a badass Chief Operating Officer of Burn Bootcamp, Amber Burke. Amber, welcome to Local Business Hacks.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We are beyond honored for this opportunity. Full transparency, listeners, I got the pleasure of seeing Amber on stage in front of a couple hundred people recently, and she is just really a superstar. So, Amber, without further ado, tell us about your career in the fitness space that ultimately brought you to Burn Bootcamp.
Yeah. So thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I have never actually had a real job. So I've only ever worked in fitness, which means I've only ever worn spandex and never real clothes and never had to shower appropriately. It's been great. But no, that is my legit story. I have been blessed enough that I kind of knew from an early start that I always wanted to be in some kind of sports or fitness. And so my undergraduate and graduate degrees are in exercise science and my master's in sports management. So it really kind of kicked off there. And I was a sports performance coach right out of college after I got my master's degree with a franchise company, and I loved it. I was a certified strength conditioning specialist. I taught kids how to do Olympic lifting, and we did speed, power, and agility. And it was just awesome. So I did that for 7 years, but I don't like to sit still either. So I just started to acquire other parts of the business, from operations to retail to pro shop to, all the things, master trainer, programmer, nutrition, whatever. I will take anything you give me. My love language is make me work harder. So I did that for 7 years and then had my first child, stepped away for a minute, and then came back into what I lovingly call the general population of big box gyms. And so I went from athletes to the gen pop. And that was also really fun because as I was aging and my fitness needs were changing, or my relationship with fitness was changing, I was meeting other women and moms and, really kind of understanding what my body could do in that space and in that season of my life, and continued just to acquire knowledge and skills and entered into sales. And so a couple of years ago, I joined Burn as a member. And so I was paying to go to Burn Bootcamp and had a free gym membership because I worked in a gym, and the community showed up to provide something I didn't even know I was missing. And it couldn't have impacted me more. And so the opportunity came to work at HQ for Burn Bootcamp, and I jumped on it and haven't looked back. So I've been with Burn for 2.5 years.
What a story. I think it's incredible to go from saying, hey, where I'm currently working in the fitness space is not supporting me personally, and now being a corporate, they're clearly doing something great. So talk to us about Burn. How can people get involved? What's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on how you want to get involved, we just launched a new app, which is incredible. It has 12 different categories behind the paywall. And that just means that you can experience us for free. We've got 3 different camp types in front of the paywall, but after the paywall, it's really where we open up our community to you. So you can experience us that way if you're not in a local Burn area. If you're looking to get even more involved as a franchisee, you can go to franchising@burnbootcamp.com and see all of the available things that we have there.
Incredible. Amber, what would you say was the most exciting part for you going from big box into, I would say, an environment where you can have a much heavier impact on individuals?
Yeah, we say community all the time. And it's funny. It's kind of like if you go into, we call them practice reps. If you go into a location and you're doing a practice rep, or you talk to someone about Burn, you're like, hey, what's the one thing that comes to mind when you say, what's Burn? They're always like, community. So it's kind of our thing, right? And that is really what I have found, not only in HQ and the team that I get to work with every day, but over the last 2.5 years, I have been able to go out into our franchises and do regional trainings. We have a summit every year that's a full 2.5 days of incredible education. I am an educator by heart. As a trainer, I just have a love for bringing people into the best versions of themselves. And when you're out in our communities, it's so incredible to see this brand is replicated in every city. Like every community is deeply rooted. Everybody bleeds blue. Everybody loves the brand. I have story after story of meeting the members in all of these satellite locations, other locations, and it changed their life. And I know that sounds super hokey and like, oh, kumbaya, but literally like life-changing stories, and there's tears and there's things, and you capture that on social. And now I'm seeing the stories coming back up, and it's like, I vividly remember these people and vividly remember the emotional connection that they had to this experience. And I think that in and of itself separates how I get to show up at Burn versus how I showed up in the big box. I loved the big box. I got an opportunity to meet our members there, but when you're talking about 75,000 square foot gyms versus 3,000 to 5,000 square foot, boutique fitness spaces, it's a little bit different. And so that totally fills my cup.
I love that. And I'm glad that you're now finding yourself in a role that you still don't have to dress up pretty and can be your authentic self. That's definitely fulfilling on its own.
Yes.
Congrats to you, and congrats to Burn on this opportunity.
Thank you.
So, Amber, how many years in total have you been in the fitness space?
Over 23. So I started when I was like 10.
Exactly. So 23 years in the fitness space. We know that you have some amazing hacks, which is why you're on this show. Please share with us some of these stories that taught those hacks.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. So my hack is, I call it inside out. And it really starts with people, and it's how our brand was built. So Devin and Morgan, our founders, literally started in a parking lot with an idea and a passion and grew it to 342 operating locations across the country. And it takes something incredibly special to do that. And it has to come from the inside. And so that's passion, that's integrity, that's enthusiasm. Our core values really represent our brand, like to its core. And so that's the hack, is like at the core of your business, can you articulate, can you transcribe to someone, can you influence someone to truly want to be part of it, whether that's at HQ, whether that's buying a franchise or just using the product, getting loyal and creating stickiness to your product. It really has to come from the inside out. If you believe it to the depth of your core, then your consumer is going to believe it. Your employees are going to believe it. And I think that takes your growth to be exponential. Some of our very first members at our very first location, which I'm sitting in today, the first building, it's our studio now where we produce our app content. But some of our very first members are still employed at HQ. So our senior vice president of franchise sales is Jolene Pertia, and she started as a member 7.5 years ago. Our VP of culture, Victoria Cerisi, started as a member 7.5 years ago, or 5 years ago, I believe. She had 3 little boys, and the sign on the outside of our door said a fit community of moms. And she's a tired mom, just needing something, doesn't even know what it is, and comes in. We offer free childcare, by the way. So for boutique fitness, to offer that as a brand, we really, that's our core, is how do we support, these community of moms. Jo was a mom. She had 2 boys, also looking for a community. It's just that inside out is where we're at. 80% of our franchise partners came from being members, and they just love the brand. And so I think that's my hack, is that you got to bring it from the inside out.
I absolutely love that. And it's a testament to what you guys are doing on the corporate level and trickling all the way down to have retention in that space. I think culture is incredible. You can't grow if you don't have good culture, but it really comes down to retention in all aspects. If you guys were funneling through replacing members on a monthly basis, replacing employees on a quarterly basis, it destroys the brand in its entirety. So it's definitely a testament to that hack of starting inside out. And
yeah. So I think one of the things that helped us do that was, COVID was just, it was disastrous to our industry. And what did we do? What did our brand do? How did we pivot? Did we show up in a way where we could maintain, not just retain? We're like, that's the first level, right? If you can retain someone, you're okay. Like your acquaintances, right? But if you've really developed some kind of loyal relationship, like the deeply rooted relationship where someone's going to maintain their relationship with you, regardless of financial issues, geographic location, encroachment. So, not just COVID, something like COVID, but encroachment and other brands coming into your area. If you developed that sort of loyalty with your people, both the people that work for you at HQ or your people that are your franchise partners and their members, then that really demonstrates how you're able to move forward and how quickly you can think, what are the needs of my community? So we actually went to on demand, and it was scrappy. Like it was like, oh crap, we got to get something live for these people. So we went to Facebook Live. We started generating every single location, Zoomed every camp. Once we were able to get back in, they had the squares marked out on our floor, 6 foot around, wore your mask, you had a basket, your own towel. So we provided opportunity, but we Zoomed our camps live. Our trainers learned to pivot in that moment instantly. And they did it with class. They did it with just such a high degree of integrity because they felt so strongly that they needed to show up for their community. And so again, just demonstrating kind of how can you operate outside the 4 walls of your fitness space, but how do you do it really well where people still want to pay you the same amount of EFT that they were paying you to show up, in person. And so I think that really became a wonderful evolution of our brand in a time where others were shrinking, others were closing. We were one of the only organizations that actually grew during COVID in the fitness space.
Amazing. Hats off to Burn for accomplishing that. And I mean, they got you in the COO seat, so something's working.
Yeah, I think investment in human capital is probably one of the most important investments that you can make. And the ROI on that is just incredible. And look, we are not perfect. We don't get it right all the time, but I do think that we get it right a lot of the time. And that's the only thing we can do when we don't get it right is just learn from it. And that's something that we also, take pride in. So.
Woo! All right, Amber, I would love to know the day-to-day hacks that you as a COO have come up with, like little things from taking notes to you name it, that really help you operate at this peak level, overseeing over 300 studios across the US.
Yeah. So I'll go back to people first. I cannot do what I do if I didn't have an incredible team. So my downline is truly incredible. I am literally only sitting in this seat because they are awesome. So first and foremost, that's it. Second, just tactically, I use my inbox as kind of like a to-do list. And so I have this flagging system. I'll mark things read and unread and move them around. It helps me ensure that I'm kind of keeping track. And I know maybe that sounds like organized chaos to some people, but it's my hack. It works for me. I'm a fan of time blocking ahead of time. Even if I run over into that time or I have to use that time for something else, it always seems to kind of just make sure that I'm creating some space. And ultimately, to survive every day, not kill anybody, I got to do camp. So, 12 o'clock noon, we go upstairs and we do camp, and it just kind of resets everything, even on a hard day.
I love that. Being involved in what your end members are really feeling and seeing and experiencing on a day-to-day basis really helps you put a pulse on the experience. And that's imperative.
The answers are in the field. If you're not in the field and you don't have the ability to really truly experience and understand what your consumers are experiencing, I don't care what level you are. And I think that's what's so great about Devin and Morgan, our CEO and our visionary, as founders. They are still in the gyms all the time. Devin is always in the gym. Morgan's in the gym every day too. So it's really cool to see that because you don't have that separation from understanding impact. And I think that's really important when you're making decisions.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's switch a little bit to your personal life.
Okay.
We got 12 o'clock workout down. Talk to me about the morning routine. How has that transformed since pre-having kids, post-having kids, now being in the COO role? What's evolved?
Okay. Well, the time of wake is the same pre-kids and post-kids. I just do different things with it. So pre-kids, I was a strength and conditioning coach. So I did all of the early morning. It sounds weird. We only say camp for everything. It's like that's just our lingo. And so whenever I talk about something else and it's a CLASS, it sounds like a bad word, but I would train early in the mornings, those other things that weren't camp, but at another brand. But I would train early in the mornings and then kind of go throughout my day. So now I just wake up at 5:15 to pack lunches and to get kids onto the bus and stuff like that. So that's definitely the difference in my day. I'm pretty militant though, in terms of my like schedule and what I do. I have the same breakfast. So I get up at 5:15, I have coffee, get the kids off to school. I leave work or I leave the house at 7:30. I have breakfast at 9:30. It's always the same breakfast. I have noon camp. I eat lunch at 1. It's always the same lunch. And I have a Celsius at 2:00 every day. Yay, because I do. And then, dinner's the wild card. Depends on if we have horse lessons and baseball and all that stuff.
I'm glad there's some variety in that schedule.
It's who I am.
Aye, Captain. And, it fits a perfect role for Chief Operating Officer, to say the least. Yeah. I would hope you have
my process.
Yeah. That's awesome. Amber, are you a big reader?
I am. I consume a lot of books.
Keep going, however you want to go about that.
All right. So I'm a huge fan of Jocko, and extreme ownership and dichotomy of leadership are really valuable to me, and just the way that I think about being a leader. I did read them in reverse though, and I'm kind of glad that I did. I read Dichotomy of Leadership first, and then I went back and read Extreme Ownership. And Dichotomy is a chapter in Extreme Ownership. And I think as he was writing it, he kind of thought, wow, you can really get a little too extreme. And so I like that it provides that balance. But if you're looking just in general, how do I show up as a self-aware leader, which is really important to me. It's always, how am I showing up first so I can show up for my team? So those two things, from just a tactical strategy in terms of leadership. And then the Energy Bus. It's just the cutest little book. I love it. And that's like the happy part of the more tactical elements. But just making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people, that you're all going in the same direction, and that it feels good. But it's a bus and people can get off if they want. And that's okay too. Not everybody decides that the destination is where they want to go. And so I think I actually gave that book to almost all of my employees in part of my career at one point, just because it hit me. And so I really like that little book.
Love it. I have some books I'll recommend to you after the podcast.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So Amber, I would love to kind of shed light on one topic that we continue to surround around on this show, and that's having the right people in the right position. So are there tools that you've implemented, maybe DISC profiles or personality assessments, or something that really enables you and the potential candidate to try to fit that position and show them a growth pattern to staying with Burn Bootcamp?
Yeah, 100%. So we actually leverage Culture Index, and that really works for us. So we do that on every candidate. And then internally, we do that for every seat, every position. So that way we know what we're looking for. And it really does help to kind of filter out and predict success in the role. So that's very valuable tool to us. And then we also have adopted EOS, but we call it BOS because it's the Burn operating system. Hopefully that's okay to do. I don't know. And it just simplifies things, I think, for people to have unemotional conversations around whether or not I'm actually doing my job. So if you think of your accountability chart, your seat, the functions of your seat are the processes of your job that have a measurable associated to it, and you're either doing it or you're not. And so you either get it, want it, have the capacity to do it, or you don't. And so it's not that you're a bad person or you're not performing, or, hey, you are crushing it. Your capacity seems to be incredible. You've established a discipline in your role. You know what you're doing. I can give you more. Great. I can give you more money. I can give you more tools. I can give you more people. So just the implementing some structure around the people conversations has been really, really helpful.
Love that. And for those of you listening that don't know what EOS is, Entrepreneurial Operating System, there's a book I definitely recommend called What the Heck is EOS? And we actually read it as employees of Referrizer twice a year to continually remind us how to act and function in that way. And a definite must read and must implement.
Yeah, people shy away, I think, from leadership in general because difficult conversations can be awkward and weird. And so this really does just help provide some framework around that. So
BOS. I love that.
That's right. Everything is burnified.
Amber, wrapping up, I'm going to ask you my favorite question. If you were going to have dinner with a historical figure from the past, who would it be and what the heck are you talking about?
All right. So Dolly Parton. Yeah. I'm a Tennessean. And so she's a Tennessean, but she's also just a trailblazer, an entrepreneur. She is people oriented. She doesn't care what other people think but she does it nicely, right? It's not like she's throwing up her middle fingers and being like, F you. She stays in her own path and she embraces it. And I love her personality. Of course, I love her music, but yeah, I would love to sit down with Dolly.
Wait, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Amber Burke, what is the best way for people that want to stay connected with you? LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah, LinkedIn is fine. Instagram, you're only going to see pictures of my kids and my dogs. So, but yeah, LinkedIn works from a professional perspective. Yeah.
Sweet. Burnbootcamp.com, everyone. Amber, congrats on all this growth and still being able to stay in your spandex and your gym clothes.
Right.
We're beyond excited to continue to watch you guys take over the fitness space and transform lives.
Awesome. So I have to teach you something if you're up for it.
Yeah, of course.
So at Burn Boot Camp, we end everything the same way. Okay. So I'm going to say 2 claps on 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to clap twice. Okay.
Everyone listening, you better be clapping with us too.
That's right. Do you need a practice rep? Are you ready? Unless you're driving, and then don't take your hands off the wheel. All right. You ready? Yeah. 2 claps on 2, 1, 2. There you go. You did it. And we always high five. Nice.
Thank you, Amber. Thanks, Burn Boot Camp. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.